Well, we've got ourselves here a beautiful Taylor 214 CE. I'm fortunate that I have this around. I played it a little bit. It says Taylor on it. So right away, if it says Taylor on it, everybody, you know it's going to be a playable, good guitar. That's not, a joke or BS or something. It's got a Sitka spruce top, rosewood back and sides. One interesting question I've always had is, when do you really reach the really excellent Taylors? And one thing about the 214, it still has laminate back and sides. I guess that's why if you really want like a guitar for an heirloom, I always say get solid back and sides, and that starts with the 314 or the 300 level series. Then you get the solid back and sides. But I think otherwise this is pretty comparable to like a 314. I would say that's the big difference. You do get the Expression System 2 tuner, pickup system, and you can always tell that Expression System by the kind of more aesthetically unobtrusive three little plastic knobs up there. I was thinking, when you have nice guitars and nice woods, you think that's going to be around for 100 years, and then you stick some big plastic thing in there that looks like a transistor radio that's probably going to be obsolete technology in 2 years. And so I think a better guitar, you don't want the electronics. If you want electronics in there, you don't want it to sort of get in the way of how the guitar will look, and especially, I would argue, age. And the Expression System 2, they've got those little knobs, and they're not too in the way. They're still up there, though, aren't they? The other thing about the 214 that is important is you do get the 18.1 tuning ratios. And I looked at the 114, and the 114 tuners are 14-to-1 tuning ratio. That means you turn this 18 times for the post to go all the way around once, like a rotation of the clock, to go from 12 o'clock to 12 o'clock. On this guitar, you tune it 18 times. And on the 114, it's a 14-to-1 ratio. So you turn this 14 times, and you get that full rotation, that clock, around the clock rotation. And if you think about it, 18-to-1, that means you have more fine, precise tunings, because the tuning is finer. So you have to turn it 18 times to go around. But I played the 114. I didn't see a big difference. But to me, that 18-to-1 tuning ratio versus a 14-to-1 tuning ratio is a good selling feature. And it's worth whatever money extra, if it's not a big difference in price. I think the 18.1 tuning ratios are something that I would consider as a factor in deciding which guitar I wanted. Because it's not like you're going to pay thousands of dollars, but that's a small but important difference, 18-to-1 versus 14-to-1. Some cheaper guitars get into 12-to-1. I've got an old Harmony. I bet it's 4-to-1, which is why that guitar will never be in tune ever. But it's a beautiful guitar. I will say this. I don't know if it's a setup. The strings are a little far off the neck. And I thought maybe that was a setup issue, but it's a hoss to play. Now, and it's got 12s on it, Elixir 12s. And I on my Martin, I always use 12s, but when I had a Taylor 314 CE, I got so I would use 11s with the 22 on the G string instead of a 24. And that enabled me to kind of play leads and finger pick and things, but it still gave me the oomph of a good acoustic guitar. But you do get a bigger sound with the 12s. But they will work you out a little bit more. And sometimes, depending on the style I'm playing, it can be even an impediment. Look at that. That's pretty far off the neck there. I almost think that's a quality control issue or something there, maybe. I don't know. Or it needs an adjustment of some kind for that. Pretty far off the neck. And I like to use the whole neck. I'm sure that can be adjusted. And the other thing is, I think Taylor, no one guitar does everything, and that's probably something that a company like Taylor has to struggle with, because they're going to get people that want to play like Mr. Sandman or Deep River Blues, all kinds of fingerstyle, Chet Atkins type fingerstyle on these guitars. And that's a very different kind of guitar than someone that wants to pick up and strum for church or around a campfire or something. And that's probably a big part of their customer base. And I would say this is kind of set up for strumming, and it sounds great for strumming. And there's nothing wrong with that. I imagine you could have it set up differently or put some lighter gauge strings on it if you wanted to really do some heavy finger style. And I even noticed it when I was like trying to flat pick. Some of that might be because I've been playing electric guitar for the last 2 years since the pandemic. I did play acoustic guitar for like 35 years, almost exclusively. Once in a while I'd play electric, but since the pandemic, I started have this YouTube channel, and I've been playing electrics in here, just having fun. And but I think it made me wimp out on some of these true good dreadnoughts. But this is a fine guitar. I would totally recommend, well, basically any Taylor guitar. But the 214 to me, I would recommend over the 114, for no other reason because of the tuners. Taylor Chrome tuners that are 18 to 1. And if the solid wood is an issue, then I would recommend trying to find a 314. Now, 314s you can buy used for not that much more than a 214. Again, you got to cough up probably several hundred extra bucks more, but if you think about it, it's a good guitar, and it's one you're going to have for a lot of years. And you might want to consider going with the 314. On the other hand, when I start getting into really good guitars that I think, hey, this is a guitar I'm going to give to my grandkids. This is a guitar that in 100 years is going to, whoever has it, whatever happens to it, if there's no nuclear holocaust or a flood or something, this guitar in 100 years is going to be a really cool antique instrument. I don't want any electronics in it. So, but I do like electronics because I like to just go play, and I've really learned that the plug and play is so much easier. So when I look for a guitar with electronics in it, I don't necessarily want like a Martin D28 or Martin D35, or for that matter, one of those really fancy Taylors, because the guitar is so much more precious than the electronics. I don't care how good the electronics are in there. So if I'm buying a guitar to plug and play, I'm always inclined to go with a good guitar that plays well, but that I'm not really, it's not like Antiques Roadshow heirloom either. Like my Martin, I would never want that in my Martin, or any really, really nice guitar. So, in a way, the solid wood back and sides don't matter that much to me, because I kind of bought this guitar because it had the Expression System 2 in it. And I bought it used. I paid $860 for it. Now, some of the 214s were a little more expensive. I was wondering if the strings being that far off the neck on this particular individual guitar, because I noticed some of the 214s this was the least, one of the lesser expensive ones. I don't think the prices fluctuated that much, but they did fluctuate some. But definitely a nice guitar. And like I said, I kind of bought it because I wanted a good guitar that sounded good, that I could play acoustically, which is how I play most of the time. But I also wanted to be able to just take it in a case, go somewhere and plug it in without having to worry about, I need a a pair of acoustic LR Baggs, pair of acoustic DI. I need an acoustic amp. I need 2 cords and a dog and and a flashlight battery. You just plug this thing in. It's also the other thing I like about the Expression system too is you can swap out that's a 9-volt battery swap, and I don't like those little jeweler batteries. So I do think this is a nice guitar. And like I said, the solid back and sides don't matter to me that much because you've got the electronics in it. So once you put electronics in a guitar, to me, the solid back and sides aren't that big a deal. I think the solid top always is important. Now, it is true that a solid back and sides will, I think, enhance your sound as the years go by, but it might be kind of a subtle difference, especially in the first 10 years or so, first 5 years. So I'm not that worried about it. You know, you buy a guitar like this that you want a good guitar, professional, excellent quality guitar that you can play, and you've also got the plug-and-play factor. And once I feel like I've met that threshold, I don't need, you know, a really nice guitar. I guess the one thing I would say about this is it's kind of set up for big old kind of worship leader in your church type strumming, if you like praise and worship. I'm partial to holy, holy, holy myself, but if you like praise and worship, it's kind of set up for that, especially with these 12s on it. And you might want to either lighten the string gauge or maybe even mess with the setup a little bit if you want to do a lot of fingerstyle. And Taylor is associated with fingerstyle. But definitely can't go wrong, and I just kind of want to give my thoughts. Thanks.